Welcome back at the main stage here at the Berlin Travel Festival together with Torsten Sabel, Chief Operating Officer, CEO and founder of Customer Alliance. Torsten, so good to have you here and to see you and being with you on stage. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Leah.
Great. The coming 45 minutes is it's all about trust, rebuilding trust, the trust we potentially lost. And Torsten, before I give you the stage, and to you and your panelists to discuss this very important topic for our industry, let me give the audience a quick overview of your background. Torsten Sabel, as I said, is CEO of Customer Alliance. Customer Alliance is one of the European market leaders in guest customer experience and online review management. Founded back in 2009 together with your school friend Moritz Klussmann. And you have a background of studies in hotels at the University South with a hospitality focus in business administration and also service design and internet technologies. Today, Customer Alliance is a company with approximately 100 employees. And how many customers currently?
Around 7,000 customers and 50,000 locations.
50,000 locations. That's quite some numbers. So that's Torsten Sabel, and I'm honored to give the stage over to you. Have a fruitful discussion, enjoy, and we'll see us later.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Leah.
Thank you, Torsten.
Lights on us.
So thank you everybody for this great festival, also to Bernd for organizing this innovative event. And maybe we start with a quick introduction round of our panelists today. And maybe we go ladies first. Cynthia, is she already here on the virtual stage? I don't know.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Cynthia. I don't know where you are, but it's interesting.
Greetings from Bavaria. Hello from Munich.
Hi, Cynthia. Do you want to maybe quickly introduce yourself and which company you're with and why you're here today?
Thank you very much. So I represent the hotel contingent in our panel today, and I represent top-line revenue management and pricing for about 500 Accor hotels in our Dutch region. And I've been living now in Munich for about 1 year, having recently joined from our Accor global headquarters last year in Paris. Prior to joining Accor, I was working with the Fairmont Raffles Hotel Group at the time of acquisition by Accor, and I moved from North America, as I said, to Paris about 2017. So for me, I focus on revenue management and sales enabling technologies for the hotel space.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Cynthia. And then I would hand over the introduction to Arturo.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. I am Arturo Ortiz. I am the representative of the Spanish Tourist Board here in Berlin. We have several offices in Germany, but we coordinate them all from Berlin. And for us, I'm here probably because for Spain, Germany is one of the main countries, and for Germany, this is the main destination after Germany. I'm not considering Austria, which is a road destination. So we are a really important tourist destination for tourists, and that's why we are here to talk about trust.
Thank you, Arturo. And Christian, short introduction from your side.
Let me take off the mask. I'm Christian Tänzler. I am the spokesperson of Visit Berlin, the destination management and marketing organization of Berlin.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. So maybe as a quick introduction, I would like to talk a bit about the challenges that we are encountering today in the travel industry. According to a recent PwC survey, building trust is very essential in regaining revenue and guests from travel for the travel industry. Currently, only 10% of the consumers surveyed say they actually trust safety guidelines of private companies, airlines, hotels, restaurants. And they look a lot at the CDC ratings concerning trust elements in travel. So The National Statistics Authority of Spain, for example, just had a updated statistic that only 2.5 million people visited the country in July, so a 75% drop, which is quite substantial. And also Berlin as a city and a city destination has released its recent numbers where we basically halved our guests, so decrease of almost 59%. Yeah? I know Arturo is also challenged with this situation in terms of revenue due to these travel restrictions, and I think we all don't know how long the situation will last in the near future. Infection rates are rising again. It's quite a challenge also to deal with this. So one challenge I understood also was some of the misleading statistics that were being shared, and that sometimes also customers or potential guests have also some misinterpretation of data. A good example was the Canary Islands topic that we were talking about recently, where there was, I think, an infection rate on one island, but then all the islands were basically involved in this travel warning. So, I basically would like to better understand from you today, how do you see this development? How can we regain trust? And what are maybe also some of the solutions out there to really have a better experience for our customers and win back their trust as travelers worldwide? I, for example, personally would love to travel to the Costa Blanca very soon. How do you see this, Arturo?
You should definitely go, and there won't be any problem. Spain is not putting any restriction to incoming travelers. That's one of the things we should have time during this talk to discuss about the restriction for traveling and how different they are when the travel involves normally two countries, and the tourists have to encounter two different approaches to the pandemic.
So which statistics as a traveler shall I trust personally when I look at traveling to Spain, for example?
First of all, definitely official statistics. One should attach to official statistics. Being said that, statistics without context, they have no sense. They are just numbers. And we have been put now into the situation as travelers to try to understand what does they mean. We never thought about it, but now there is risk areas, this is bit, and they are all linked to some numbers, and the numbers we don't really understand, and we are not being explained of. So the statistics normally that we are confronted to now are relative numbers or absolute numbers, and they are quite different. So it's not that the statistics that we are shown, they are wrong, but they may be misleading if you don't understand them for the purpose of your trip. And the sample you said, it's very common when they define a risk zone as a big geographical area which has no links between itself, like it's in the Canary Islands, there are different islands, so they should be considered separately. But even within an island, there are hotel areas, tourist areas, and there are local areas for residents. And the pandemic is evolving very differently in both areas. So you get no realistic information about how you should behave and what you risk if you are given a too broad area of risk in which you are not actually moving in. So we have, as travelers, as consumers, as citizens now, the challenge to try to understand those statistics, official statistics, and to put it in the context of our own lifestyle and our own lives to understand if we are putting ourselves in a danger or not. Another example that we had is a data analyst took the effort to measure the number of positive tests in the case of the Frankfurt airport to find out that if we take into account the top 10 tourist destinations for Germans arriving back from the holidays to Frankfurt airport, the number of positive cases was less than 1%. In the case of Spain, it was even less than 0.2%. Which means that for these travelers, the risk of getting infected during their holidays was less than the risk of being infected in the local hometowns. So it's important to put everything in a context. We cannot just absorb some data, some numbers that has nothing to do with our life.
So the study that you were referring to at Frankfurt Airport, you sent it to me prior to this panel, and you said 0.7% of the travelers that were tested in Frankfurt between July 15th and September 22nd actually had corona, so 0.76%. You said from Spain, if they actually came from Spain, the number was actually even lower, 0.2%, which means I can technically handshake 500 people before I meet somebody who has corona.
You need several full planes to get one positive.
Yeah. Okay. So then, from that perspective, I feel then more, let's say, comfortable to travel, also to fly, as the percentage, the absolute number is relatively.
Yeah, I think what the statistics show us is that there is no risk on those kind of trips because they are really controlled. They have protocols, and it's really safe to fly. It's really safe to stay in hotels, and it's really safe to go and come back home.
Okay, thank you, Arturo. I saw the first questions coming in also from our online guests, and the question was to me. I'm just going to take it. How can technology in the hospitality sector help to build trust with customers? As I'm in the technology space, I would maybe just take this question first. So technology in this case can help to, at the different touch points in the customer journey, to really communicate the right information at the right time and building trust by providing real insights on what's actually happening in the destination or the hotel I'm going to, or the country I'm going to. So I think technology can be a good driver for communication, for also collecting feedback. Some examples of our customers are also that they collect feedback on their hygiene measures, where they let their guests rate their hygiene measures concerning corona and make it transparent on their website. So these are some examples of how you can build trust. Moving to the next question, I would like to ask Cynthia at Accor. How do you build trust throughout the customer journey? Meetings, events, cleanliness measures. There's a lot of bureaucratic things that one has to take into account today. But what's your take on this?
Thank you. So I think it's worthwhile to take a moment and really talk about what is trust. So if we're not engaging with and leading with trust, that's going to have a long-term impact certainly for our guests, and it will have a short-term impact on the positioning of our product with our guests, but certainly a longer-term impact that will last far beyond this crisis. So if we're thinking about long-term, for me, today things happen in a world of full transparency. You've talked about using digital tools and communication to help the guests through that guest journey. We need to keep in mind that guests can also be transparent with us, and guest reviews, social media, for example, give us feedback and puts this information forward in a digital and a transparent way. So when I say what is trust, so our guests are entrusting us and relying on us to be fully credible. So by credible, I meaning we do what we say. And we're judged by our reliability, meaning we do what we've said. So if we think about what that's meant for Accor, for us, we've introduced, like many different hotel companies and travel industry providers, we've introduced extensive hygiene and precautionary measures and ensuring that we're always following the utmost of the local government guidelines. So the additional thing that Accor has done to help us with what we've called our label All Safe is we've employed independent audits through that process. So not Accor folks, but independent audits to ensure that our standards are being adhered to. And it's also important that we're fully transparent all through the guest journey. So that includes the digital footprint, so where you can find out information about our hotels, as well as pre-arrival communication and on arrival and during stay communication.
Thank you, Cynthia. I just got in a question for Christian from Visit Berlin. So Visit Berlin has recently announced to put their marketing activities on hold. So why did you decide to pause instead of keeping the contact to your target groups?
Very easy to answer, because this is not true. We didn't decide to stop all marketing activities. I can explain it very shortly. We had one ad in radio, and the ad was just before the news, and in the news they said Berlin is one of the risk areas. So we stopped this ad in the news, or before the news in the radio, but we are still, of course, doing marketing. That's our business. Yeah. And interesting how news sometimes get very often published, but they are not really exactly described.
Okay, got it. Maybe the same topic about the topic of travel warnings or risk warnings. So what ideas and solutions do you have to deal with these travel risk warnings, and if a city suddenly is a risk area, etc.? Yeah. I mean, for a city like Berlin, this is quite a challenge, or?
It is, and as we were talking before, numbers are very important on one hand, and I agreed with Arturo and with Cynthia, but on the other hand, what is very, very important is that people have feelings, they have emotions. You have to tell them the numbers. I think that's very important. We have the RKI, the Robert Koch Institute, which has every day the latest numbers, which is really very important and very good basis. But we also have to explain, and we have to interpret the things, and we really have to show emotions and have an eye on the emotions of our customers on one hand. So we are really focusing our communication in two directions. One direction is to the customers, to give trust with latest good information, with an easy interpretation of the numbers. On the other hand, we are focusing our communication into Berlin as well, because we need the people on the street, we need the Berliners to respect the rules, regulations, yeah? And that is also a sign of trust and responsibility. And we want to say, from the bottom of our heart, Berlin is a safe city, but you have to respect the regulations. And I'm talking about our customers, but I'm also talking about all Berliners.
So it's kind of, you have to market the city, but you also have to market, how do we travel responsibly? Yes,
and this is, I would say, talking to the Berliners, that was not our main focus in the last years. We try to get more and more people from international countries, for example, yeah? But now it has totally changed. And I think it only works if you really put these two communications together. If not, you will fail.
Okay, thank you, Christian. So maybe concerning the tactics, yeah? What tactics, Arturo, do you have to address tourists from abroad and really to build trust? And I think there's also a question from the audience. How is the hotel opening situation in Spain at the moment?
Yeah, to the second one, the hotel situation in Spain right now is adjusted to the demand that we have, that you just mentioned. There is a drop of almost 80% in the tourist arrivals. So the hotel situation varies a lot depending on the destination, if it's island or not, if it's now winter season is starting in the Balearic Islands. Madrid and Barcelona are heavily affected now by the pandemic. So very roughly we could say that it's about 1/3 of the hotels are still open for businesses and are getting visitors. The tactics that we do, let's say that marketing is about trust somehow, and making credible things that you may not believe. it's been a challenge to adjust to this time, changing our already planned activities, trying to be here offline and being at the end online and not offline. So adjusting to that, the marketing activities now, I could say first that we target people not for traveling tomorrow. That's not our marketing strategy. We target people to travel in the long term. In the long term, the willingness to travel is still really high, and Spain is still in first position. And second, we address as well the pandemic situation, and we communicate things related with the pandemic, with how safe it's traveling, and with the offer. We normally work with the demand here, and we deal not with the offer, but now we are communicating things as well about the offer, how safe are hotels in Spain, how safe is travel in Spain, and what's the stand of Spain within travel restriction. What should we do on the long term, or meanwhile the pandemic still exists? So we are dealing with subjects we were not used to, but in marketing you normally use many subjects, many tools, and you have just to adjust to what the market demands at the time.
Okay. There was a follow-up question. Are there any numbers available for Balearic Islands, Canary Islands, mainland Spain, that help to build trust? Like, is Costa Blanca more trustworthy than the Balearic Islands?
I think it has to do as well with the statistics, because we are playing all the time with relative numbers and absolute numbers. The islands, they are not very well populated. Some of them, they are really, not to say empty, but not many people living there. So if we talk about relative numbers, if you have 20 sick persons, you are already above this ratio of 50 per 100,000. That is what Germany uses as to declare a risk zone, but it's very few people actually. And to show this, I'm referring as well to Berlin, because we are living here. I was checking for my personal interest as well, how was the situation in Berlin. I was comparing the daily cases in the Canary Islands and in the Balearic Islands with the city of Berlin. And the ratios, of course, in the Canary Islands and in the Balearic Islands were terrible, and we were declared risk areas and Reisewarnungen and so on. Not in the case of Berlin, but the difference was made because of the number of people living here. If we took into account the daily absolute number of cases of the Balearic Islands, they were less daily than the number of cases in Berlin. If we talk both the Canary Islands and the Balearic Islands both together, they were less than the cases in Berlin. That at a time where Berlin was considered a safe place. So with the same number of cases, there was a Reisewarnung for these islands, and there was not to Berlin. So that's the thing. If you follow the numbers and you understand them, you may feel how safe you are at a place.
Okay. As we're right in the topic, I just want to ask one more follow-up question from the audience. So they said Spain is affected the most by the virus within Europe, from the European countries. How credible can any marketing activity be during these challenging times?
As credible as any marketing activity. Marketing is about making things credible. So we are not denying what is happening, and we are just putting the focus in making a safe trip all the time. So as long as we are attached to the health protocols, some local ones, some Spanish ones, some others recommended by the European Union, some international, like the security, the air filtered at airplanes, I think you can do credible marketing.
Okay, thank you. Cynthia, as you're remote, I wanted to get back to you also in your remote desk today. What do you guys do in terms of communication along the customer journey, building this trust? You said that's an important step for Accor, like communicating pre, during, post day of the travel. Like, what ideas do you have in the pipeline to really build this trust for the guest?
Certainly. So I think that for me, certainly trust and transparency are important. So when we're thinking about, Arturo was talking about what I call inspirational travel. So marketing, especially destination marketing, you'll see a lot of that has recently switched to, you know, if it's a particularly a location that isn't safe, that, you know, we'll still be here when you're ready to travel. And I call that the inspirational marketing message, and that's the first part of the guest journey, the first part of the funnel. So when we move into, let's say, the booking part of the funnel, ensuring that the guest has all of the information available. So you heard me talk about our safety protocol, what we call All Safe. So it's important that we're making that clear and available to all of the areas where our guests could find information and book for hotels. So that has to do with the digital journey and information about what our All Safe label means, and having that message and information right there at the first appearance, let's say, of a hotel or a meeting space. But it's not only the digital journey. It's important that, for example, our travel agency and sales partners also have this information. And one of the things that we're seeing is that there is an interesting rebound and interest in folks working with travel agents for them to help them make the right choice at the right time for their travel dollars. So if it happens to be leisure travel, for example. Prior to arrival, one of the things that we do is have a pre-arrival communication in email, and it details what is going on with the protocols at the hotel. If there's anything unique in regards to the food and beverage or spa offerings, it's in that pre-arrival communication. So for example, if a reservation for breakfast or dinner is required, it's detailed in that email with very easy information on how to do that. A lot of our messaging, for example, on menus have moved away from paper menus to a simple scannable code. And we can make that available to our guests in that communication as well. So they're really planning their whole journey.
Ach, das finde ich aber gut, wenn ich nicht aufziehen müsste.
If you're looking at some of the recent information that's come out from surveys as recently as September, this is one of the big things travelers want. They want to understand the relevant safety protocols, and they want to know that prior to arrival. So we're really ensuring that they have that prior to their arrival. And of course, this during and on arrival, that would be more of a personal touch.
Thank you, Cynthia. Christian, quick question. What messages are you sending to your guests and customers, and about risk warnings and traveling to Berlin, and through what channels and touch points, maybe more from a city marketing point of view?
Yeah, we started very early with, I would say, transparent information. When we had the lockdown, most of the communication was what you can do, what you can see from Berlin, but in a digital way. And then in the second, when we have the reopening and the restart, we try to show people what they can do in Berlin, which is open, so the facts on one hand, but we also do the emotional side. So we showed places in Berlin you would never could imagine that they're in Berlin, for example, with a lot of green. We are a very green city. We have a lot of lakes, things like this, and combine it with our cultural sites, which are already reopened. So we had a dual communication, and we used the traditional media, but we also use a lot social media and digital online things. And what is very important, we worked a lot with cooperation partners like Deutsche Bahn, and German National Tourism Board, and so on. I think in these times you really need very good partners. So you have a wider angle to the different communication channels.
Okay. There was a question to Visit Berlin. How do you see the situation for youth travel, the youth travel market in Berlin in the new normal, class trips and backpackers, etc.? So, are you able to support this market somehow?
We are already doing some of the school classes came back, and we had some groups already. We are very happy about this, and in future, this will be a very important market for us in the German market, but also in the international market. Yes.
Okay, got it. Maybe a question to all of you, also not only as marketers or representation for Spain and Accor, but what sources and information do you guys really trust today when selecting to travel? Because I was also looking at the World Health Organization data, looking at the bubbles and like which country can I travel best, and I kind of get the feeling that traveling is now being selected by infection number rates, and I'm going to go to this country because the infection rate is super low, or these type of decisions. Like, how should I find a source that really is credible and that really helps me also take a decision on where to travel, be it Spain, be it Berlin, be it destinations of Accor hotels?
But I think the key is the combination. You need the numbers, you need the infection rates, but I have the feeling that people really are a little bit overdone with all these numbers on one hand. They are the basis for the information, and I would like to show you one of our campaigns now. You see, we really try to touch the emotional thing of the decision if I'm going or not. No, the other one, please. There's another one. Could you, yeah? That was the second one. I would like to have the first one. And you see that we are really aiming at the people because there are a lot of Berlin lovers. Yeah, we have a lot of fans, and they were really very, very. Yeah, I would say they had to stay at home in the first part of the crisis, and we tried to give them a little bit first impressions, and then we say, okay, it is safe to come to Berlin, but you have to use the regulations. Thank you for this. Is our campaign. And then we showed really pictures. This is Tempelhofer Feld, our old airport, the former airport Tempelhof, where you have really this wide, this green space. And I think, and people said, yeah, okay, I can come to Berlin on the emotional side. I'm not counting the numbers. I know the numbers, but if I'm staying with the regulations, I will be free to have the freedom of the Tempelhofer Feld, for example.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
we use that.
Yeah, the emotion, the experience that you expect, I think, at the destination is quite important. I was thinking maybe just sitting and going in my car to Spain, driving 28 hours to Moreira, the little town in Costa Blanca, and if I'm there, like, what should happen, right? It's like nature, it's blue skies, nice sun, and not many people there, right? So actually it's a great time to travel. So we could also talk a bit about the solutions, because we only have 8 minutes left. If we talk about solutions, and let's say you would have Angela Merkel sitting here, and you could give her one wish, what solution she should implement to help us solve the trust topic in travel, what ideas do you have, and what solution would you present to her?
I think they have the most difficult job in the world right now, and I'm not sure if there is one solution, because we are walking on a very thin ice, and nobody knows how long it will last, the corona pandemic, and we are talking about trust. Yeah, we are talking about trust, so we have to give the people a little bit of safetiness. We don't really have, but people want a kind of, they want this emotional side, they want to have a good experience, they want to, of course, have their experiences. Yeah, they want to go to Spain to see the blue sky and the sea of Spain, and we know that our customers want to go to Berlin to have this cultural life in combination with canoeing in the morning and cycling in the afternoon, and in the evening you go to a theater or to a concert. We know that they want this, and you have to find the balance. You really have to find the balance, and this is the biggest challenge.
Okay, and if you now had this one solution or this one wish that you could implement immediately, what would it be?
Fast test and vaccination. Something against.
Yeah.
Push it.
Okay. Thank you. Before we move to the other solutions, there's another question for Arturo on how can we build up trust on destinations like Canary Islands, and when there exist these travel warnings, yeah, and when at the same time there's no warning to regions which have much higher numbers. So how can we transport this?
Well, I think I would answer as if I had Angela Merkel here in front of me, with a short answer. Test before travel. That's the stand of Spain right now. The only way to build trust, regain trust again, is to give clear messages that people believe. And either we don't have tourism at all, or we are aim to take a test before traveling to a destination, and take a test before traveling back to the destination. We are not supposed to travel if we are sick. That's the point, and that's the only simple solution that we can take now into account if we want to resume travel, and that people believe that it's safe and not just a marketing bubble or bluff. So test before travel.
Yeah, we have to be very honest.
Maybe also, before I go to Cynthia, also a question maybe to the audience and guests in our online stream. So what solutions do you propose for solving the trust topic? And we would be happy to share some of them. Feel free to just brainstorm in the chat. So Cynthia, from Accor's side, what would be your wish and your proposed solution to increase the trust and solve the traveler confidence challenge?
Well, first of all, I think I must praise the German government and infrastructure for what they've done so far. I think that they've led with very, very good information and very good protocols. The infrastructure, not only on the medical field, but the support that they've given to enable us to keep our workers where we've been reducing our workforce has been quite tremendous. And first of all, I would say thank you for that. And second, I think that we really are seeing some many more months ahead, and I would like to see Germany together with the EU come up with some practical plans on how we plan to support the different parts of infrastructure, rail, airline, hotel, etc., through the different aspects of travel. We have a lot of great cultural institutions here in Germany and certainly in Berlin. So I think it's now time to start really serious planning and targeted communication. I like the comment on testing. Sometimes people just need a very clear view of, look, if you're living in a high-density city and going to, whether it's a very remote area of Germany, area of Berlin, or the Canary Islands, different areas we've spoken about, very practical guidance that travelers can do to protect themselves. Infomercials, even like this, would really be helpful. So I think we're ready for not only care packages in terms of fiscal support, but really supportive measures all the way through the recovery phase.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia, for your ideas on solutions to the traveler confidence topic. I think if I have a wish to the governments and politicians, my wish would be also, let's create a score that really gives transparency in terms of also of travel security and maybe also more clarification of difference. What are the travel warnings versus just security notes and so forth. I mean, everybody can read it, you can Google what it means and what the definitions of different travel warnings are. But I would feel, I think, a lot more confident if I had like a list of all the countries where you also have like kind of like a benchmark, like how's this versus Germany versus France versus Italy. And I feel much more confident also now after speaking to all of you that like traveling to Spain is not a problem for me at all. Going through Frankfurt Airport, I have a chance of 0.2% to get corona, right? So I think this is quite a, let's say, a risk that I'm willing to take, 0.2%. And and I think there's a lot of destinations, cities, countries, and also hotel destinations out there where traveling is very safe. So I think it's really just about finding these destinations and doing really good research on it. So I want to encourage everybody to start traveling again. To look at the destinations where you feel safe, destinations that are maybe even safer than where you currently live.
Yes.
And thank you, Cynthia, for joining the panel remote from Accor in Munich. Thank you, Christian, for joining from Visit Berlin, and also Arturo from Tour España. Appreciate everybody also from the audience. Thank you for the questions, and hope to see you during a travel soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Torsten.
We love you, Berlin.